Beep, 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 beep. Oh, that's new and approved from the Jester. Good morning, good peeps. Or good afternoon, I think it is now. Right, the first new thing. Glasses. New. Right, you can stop whinging in the bloody comments now. Look, glasses. New. I went for sexy secretary. What do you think? Anyway, right, okay, so subscribe. Click the button. Do it now. Move the mouse. Now, yep, right, subscribe. Buy me a coffee if you can help out. Don't forget the 2 meetings tomorrow for those that wish to be warrior teachers from abroad or from the UK. The Substack article that goes with this is in the Dubris description. But oh my, let's talk about mermaids. Right, this has a serious edge, right? But let's talk about it, okay? Because there's been a wonderful article that came out in the Telegraph, but there's a lot more to it than that, right? That came out in the Telegraph from one Ewan Somerville, who I've had the pleasure of talking to, who I've encouraged to be more Woodward and Bernstein if he can. You know, get deep throating in garages. That's not what I meant, but you get what I meant. Those of you that know what I'm talking about. The others are going, is he encouraging oral? Right, okay, so, right, here we go. Susie Green stood down. She didn't stand down, she was forced out, right, okay? But apparently, according to a whistleblower, there is disarray and anger within the charity's Leeds and London offices. This is so beautiful. What it illustrates is so beautiful. Just gets better, right, okay? The boss faced a staff backlash over her incapable leadership, culminating in a nail-in-the-coffin report that the trustees received last week. Remember that bit, all right? Now, staff apparently were hauled into a meeting. The charity, the UK's largest for trans children, no such thing, has received taxpayer funding and runs training in the NHS schools and police forces. Not for long. Right, okay, so shocked staff were hauled into an emergency meeting. Now! Dr. Belinda Bell, the chair of trustees, and told Miss Green was gone and her placement needs strong EDI experience. Ideally lived experience. With some, is there any other kind? Unlived experience. Some zombie shit going on there, innit? Unlived experience. Jacob Marley, rattle. Right, okay, so apparently the group has endured an exodus of staff. And the young ones were upset. Some junior transgender staff alleged they were treated like children. I wonder why. Perhaps they are mentally children, right? And complaints fell on deaf ears. Some staff felt it insufficient that Miss Green, a former IT manager, was leading a trans charity but not transgender herself. Here we go. Right. She's been hoisted by her own petard. I've called the Substack Cluedo. The murder of Susie Green. I'll come to that, right? Okay. They felt her only link was her child, right? Who she whipped off his cock and balls, didn't she, in Thailand? And they changed the law because of it. Where's the police when you need them, okay? So the Charity Commission now has escalated a probe into mermaids. That sounds painful. Sorry. Probe into by launching its highest level of statutory investigation due to newly identified issues. Yeah, I wonder what they are. I wonder where they came from. They're being hoodwinked too. Right? They're being hoodwinked too. The Charity Commission have been hoodwinked. This is my prediction. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying have a think about it. Right? Okay, so on Friday night, MPs demanded that lessons be learned. Don't they always? What do you mean by that? Lessons be learned? It's not lessons be learned. Shut them. Shut them down. That's it. That's the lesson you need to learn here. Right? The fiasco deepened when Dr. Jacob Breslow was forced, you remember old, child wibbling bloke, get rid of him, right? They were giving chest binding advice to 14-year-olds and telling them how to get drugs online. This is incredibly serious. These people are wibbling because it fell on deaf ears. They're not worried about child safeguarding. They have no interest in child safeguarding. As you'll see, okay? This was all serious stuff that's come to light. The Charities Commission is going to be all over this, right? The safeguarding framework didn't exist. That's what I see. Okay? So, right. It also says here, a lot of new board members came in who were Susie's friends. Nobody really knew who they were, which was an added shock when the whole Jacob stuff happened. The whole Jacob stuff. Talk about under, what do you call it? Hubris. Understatement. Right. Apparently they had a staff call. Staff can drop in and say what they're feeling. Well, if you spent more time asking what they're thinking, you probably wouldn't be in this mess. Susie wasn't on that call, and there were a lot of staff asking about accountability and who dropped the ball. All of you! But no one really got answers for it. Right, so, apparently she was guilty of shoving her head in the sand. That's a god image in my mind now. Susie Green with her head in the sand. People going by and parking their bike. Right, okay. Right. Staff were confused as why has Mermaids taken on LGB Alliance? Ideology. You work for an organisation and you don't know it's ideological. That's how stupid these people are, and they wonder why they were treated as children. An insider also claimed, here we go, an insider also claimed 3 out of around 5 people of colour in the charity have left in the last year. Gosh, that's suddenly come up, hasn't it? I wonder what's going on there. Why would that suddenly come up? Interesting, isn't it? One of the big issues with Susie is she's incapable of being self-reflective. So when anyone took any complaint to her, it would fall on deaf ears because she was unwilling to have anything at fault, even when it was ways of suggesting how handling things could be improved. It was like you're attacking her and not attacking mermaids. Well, that's what happens when you employ people based on identity and what they happen to be close to rather than competency. This is an argument against equity because what is happening now is the result of equity. Okay. More junior staff, the younger trans people who would have hoped an organisation for trans young people would support, are the ones most dissatisfied. Wonder why? At how it's being run. They were getting treated the worst. Right, so it then says, earlier this year, Mermaids decided to carry out a frank and honest appraisal. Shut it. There's a frank and honest appraisal, okay? Of our internal culture and how we measure up in terms of equity, diversity and inclusion. So what they did was they invited people in to have a look at that for them. And didn't do their due diligence again. It's just impossible, right? So, this highlighted a number of significant challenges for us. And we know we can do better. Yeah, we don't want you to do better. We want you to go away. Next. Okay, so the whistleblower claimed that all the forms are outdated and need to be modernised. Just shut it down. The Charity Commission has said it had not received necessary reassurance or been satisfied that there has not been a serious systemic failing in the charity's governance and management. Safeguarding, primarily, please. A Tory MP, Miriam Cates, who I've got enormous time for, wonderful woman, Tory MP and a member of the Commons Education, told the Telegraph, it is clear that Mermaids have been responsible for multiple safeguarding breaches. Multiple. Including encouraging children to harm their own bodies. I fucking hate these people. I hate these people. Including encouraging children to harm their own bodies. Which is why I called in Parliament for a criminal inquiry. This should be a criminal inquiry. It should also be a prevent inquiry. More of that later. We must learn lessons from this failure of safeguarding. And we must ask ourselves how Mermaids has for so long been allowed unfettered access to vulnerable children, many of them same-sex attracted. I hate them. Baroness Nicholson of Winterbourne, a Tory peer, said, the Charity Commission reports to the House of Commons, so the legless mermaids have no escape. They cannot wriggle out now. Don't you just love a Baroness? What a turn of phrase. Mermaids interim chief executive job advert, you just, right, 80 grand, says Mermaids, is looking for someone who is experienced to lead a cultural change piece. Really? Is strong on EDI and an expert in people management. Ooh, its trustees brief says trustees have collective and joint responsibilities. Right, okay. I wonder why that job suddenly come up, and I wonder, I mean, who do we think might fill it? Right. Mermaids, second fin. Mermaids. Oh, every time I think of mermaids, all I can think of is the question before us is, where's her clitoris? Right, enough with the funniness. Let's move on to this other bit here. So, the Telegraph did the report. Excellent, right? Okay, good stuff from Ewan. Yep. But make no bones about it, I've said here, and in my Substack, the demise of Mrs. Green in the office with the Lady Dick is highly likely not to be what we think it is. Sorry. Of particular note is the sound of a clash between the insane culture of Green and her associates and what appear to be the batshit crazy faction that have engineered her demise, one that she has brought on herself and her colleagues by once again not doing the due diligence. So due diligence wasn't done when it came to Breslow and his queer theory child shenanigans, right? So what Green has done, and Green and her minions have done, is they've ended up inviting grievance mining offensatrons into the organisation for a report they themselves commissioned. The one mentioned earlier. Right? Enter the Social Justice Collective. It's just, the clue is in the name. The Social Justice Collective, who style themselves and do appear to be, on first look, experts in the field of so-called EDI. You and I know it's DI, not EDI, right? But on closer inspection, they are revealed to be an ideologically hard-left, identitarian, cultural Marxist pressure group who push equity, queer theory, gender ideology and critical race theory in search of the chosen family and trans liberation. Black Lives Matters, anyone? All starting to sound eerily familiar, isn't it? The About page, so you can find out who it is that works for them, is gone. It's disappeared completely. Oh, there must be a job going somewhere. Mermaids, perhaps. 80 grand. Oh, it's good money, right? Thank God for the Wayback Machine, eh? Links in the Substack. Thank God for the Wayback Machine. So we could see them. So I've got details of them. These people from the Social Justice Collective, right? So we'll just go quickly through who they are. I don't know these folk. They're probably great to have a drink with, but they're ideologically nuts from my perspective. Don't mean I'm right. Remember that. I could be wrong. So first up, we have somebody called Parry Dillon. She/her. It's like, here we go. Yeah, right. Oh. She's the director and founder of Social Justice Collective. Clients include Liberty, Stonewall, Girl Guiding, the National Union of Students. I mean, dear God, who are they in bed with? And membership bodies such as the Association of Chief Executives of Voluntary Organisations and the Charity Governance Code. Who are these people? Parry believes that we are not individually to blame for the existence of systems of oppression, but we each have responsibility for dismantling them. Right, okay. Barren oppression narratives, anyone? It's on the page. How could they get these people in? Parry is an intersectional feminist, grassroots activist and lesbian mother of two. I mean, who introduced themselves like that? Parry is a short, fat, bearded trainer, absolute twat and curmudgeon. He's never fathered anything. I don't get it. She's also a trustee of UK Black Pride. Hello, Manchester Pride. Hello, Brighton Pride. How you doing down there? Right, and founding chair of this network, a woman and non-binary people of colour collective of social justice warriors. They got them in. And they're going to bring down the organisation. It's too beautiful, right? So that's the first one. Paris's anti-racism and queer rights activism roots her leadership and approach in the experiences of grassroots change makers and minoritized people. This is the people they got in to do a report. It's just so beautiful. It's because, you know. And what a surprise. Who we got next? You're never going to... Just, you know, colour me so surprised. They're stuck in their own knobs, right? Colour me so surprised. A Stonewall drone close behind, right? Somebody called Hannah Kibridge. She, her. Is the head of equity and inclusion at the Social Justice Collective. She is an experienced equity, diversity and inclusion practitioner, having worked in the UK charity sector on social justice issues and with marginalised communities for 10 years. She did quite a lot of work with UK scouting. What? You know, we know about this, don't we? Katie watching? Katie Walcott, you there? Girl Guides, scouting? Stowe, what's going on? During her time at LGBTQ plus charity, Stonewall, Hannah shaped, developed and delivered a series of LGBT inclusion programmes in the education and youth sector, with their queer theory again, say. Again, I imagine Hannah's fun to have a drink with, but I don't know anything about these people, but I know what they believe because they've written it down. Hannah's passion and drive around social justice, equity and inclusion stems from an early age. She studied human rights and worked with asylum seekers and refugees. Good for you, Hannah. Good for you. And then we have Chaka El Bachman. She, her. Right, okay. Stonewall again. Stonewall. So Mermaids is going to get taken over by somebody that used to be at Stonewall. Who's going to take this job? You mark my words, right? Chaka El Bachman, an intersectional activist. Chaka has been passionate about social justice and community creation from a young age, identifying as a queer femme. It's a straight woman, I imagine. That grew up in a dual heritage home. Has shaped Chaka's approach to activism. Chaka facilitates spaces that encourage participants to reflect and engage in the change they want to see, focusing on unpacking dynamics of privilege and power and creating new places of belonging. Right, we've then got Yasmin Akhtar. She, her. A partner consultant at the Social Justice Collective. Experienced coach. 15 years experience charity leadership in the UK. Facilitating high-level UN award-winning interventions. She's working for the United Nations. In peace building, community dialogue and reconciliation, her approach is systemic, deeply rational and power-informed. There you go. How can it be deeply rational and power-informed? Yasmin balances pragmatism with an uncompromising belief in the potential for individual, collective and systemic transformation. She is passionate about building understanding of the impact of sustained microaggressions on staff. It's like textbook critical social justice warrior garbage in it. That's what it is, okay? It's, there you got the whole lot. That's one, the whole thing is in one fetid cultural Marxist package. There you go. But you've got to understand, and we need to be careful about this because I think this is what's going to happen next, is that we need to seriously understand what a risk mermaids are, okay, in terms of their safeguarding. Not just mermaids, but gender identity, ideology, queer theory. They are a safeguarding risk. And I think critical race theory should be in there too at this rate. But they are a safeguarding risk. And we should be considering really that the whistleblower didn't seem to have too many worries about what was going on with safeguarding, but certainly had more worries about what was going on with race. I wonder who the whistleblower was. We have to be really careful because I think the drones at Mermaids have let in this group with this report through a lack of due diligence. And I think it may well usher in their demise faster than anything else, at which point I wouldn't be surprised to see the black, queer, trans, disabled, lesbian at the pinnacle of intersectionality's rotten oppression ladder make an appearance. I wouldn't. And they will reinvent themselves, masking the atrocious harms of queer theory and gender identity ideology in the filthy garb of anti-racism. Yes, as the downfall appears to be coming, they will hunker in the bunker. Quite proud of that. They will hunker in the bunker. But let us not think for 1 minute this will be the end. The corpse may shamble on, reanimated and rejuvenated, and that must not be allowed to happen. Nothing short of a full government inquiry into these third sector and other anti-Western and child indoctrinating cults, and the prevent issues that they characterise, will now suffice. The government must act decisively. The government must act swiftly. We need a full inquiry. Go well.